I'm more interested in you, Jessica. Tell us, you're known, obviously, you're becoming famous as a racing driver, but you have this role also as an ambassador with the Aston Martin Formula One team. Can you tell us about that? And in particular, what you do for them and what it does for you to be involved with a team like this?
So I signed with the team early last year. This is my second year. And it very much started in a role that was doing a lot of sponsorship days, partnership days, lots of comms commitments, media commitments, hot laps as well, which is unsurprisingly my favorite part of the job. And since then, I'm obviously doing the same. But it keeps growing. So very shortly going to be starting on the simulator for some development work, which is amazing. Never did I think that would ever be a thing, but it is becoming a thing. So yeah, it's growing. My role keeps increasing. And obviously that's very welcomed by me.
And I can see how it's very valuable for them to have somebody like you to share the load across the other drivers in the team. But what do you gain from being involved in an F1 team?
Well, firstly, it's when I first joined, it was kind of overwhelming. Not overwhelming, but I was like a deer in headlights, and it was like a kid in a candy shop, and there were so many different departments to learn and understand how the whole race team links together. But obviously, a Formula One car and the Formula Regional car that I race in W Series, they're not directly comparable, but it's a car with slicks and wings, so they're comparable-ish. So I can't learn anything directly from looking at data and stuff like that, but what I can do is pick up other things, like how the drivers are working with their engineer, things that they're looking for within, techniques that they're using, so many other different things that I can learn, even though the car isn't directly comparable. And I'm picking so much off the drivers as well. Lance and Seb, they've been fantastic with me. They give me so much time, more than they need to. And Nico as well has been a great help too. So yeah, I've picked up so many things, and they're all useful. Every day's a school day.
And what about for them? Are there times when you can, because a different perspective is often very valuable, isn't it? Even as you said, Formula Regional might be quite different to Formula One, but you're still a racing driver, you're still a competitor, and you're still a human. So there might be things sometimes that you see or think of that Formula One people might not have done. Has there been any of those occasions?
I mean, obviously we exchange opinions all the time, just in discussion, not only with the drivers, but maybe with the engineers and things like that, and just in general chit chat. And we probably both take away bits and both disregard some and take of it what you will. And I don't know, I'm only just feeling like I can give my opinion, and that was probably a big step. And I feel like I can, if I do have an opinion on something, or if I feel like I'm able to help, then I do feel like I'm able to say that, which is great. So
it is. So I want to talk to you about various topics around the race as one concept that came into the spotlight a couple of years ago. Your team has been one of the most progressive, I think, in that, talking about inclusivity across all areas. So I suppose the first question to you as an individual is your experience in motorsport. Did you find boundaries, and is it getting better, and what needs to be done in your opinion?
I think I'm lucky to say that I don't directly think that my gender has ever held me back within motorsport. I know that other females maybe have a slightly different view than I do, or different stories to tell, but I think that it's never been because I am a female that I've been held back, if you know what I mean. But maybe perhaps I will say that it was definitely more difficult to be taken seriously at a younger age. As a female, despite a great CV, despite, a CV that would stand up to a lot of the Formula One drivers at a young age anyway. I do think it was more difficult to be taken seriously. And back then, when I was winning British championships, it was almost unheard of, and there wasn't such a big push to find a female that's good enough for Formula One. There wasn't that. It was kind of almost like, oh, a female will never make it, whereas it's a lot different now. So if I say this a lot actually, and it's so true that whilst I've not given up on my career, I've definitely not, I'll keep pushing for my career. If I can break down barriers so that the next generation behind me, the up and coming, don't have to face those barriers, then I will be very pleased with that. Because there have been things along the way that I probably don't even remember.
Right.
But yeah, I do believe that we're close to seeing a Formula One driver. Not immediately. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but I think that within the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years or 8 to 10 years ish, I think that's when we're going to start to see real life females knocking on Formula One's door.
And often the question is, and it's often from girls and ladies, is there a reason why a lady couldn't race in Formula One? Is there ever anything you've seen that is a reason why, other than just the number of people coming into the sport is very much skewed towards girls?
I think that there are a number of reasons. One being that there are far less than there are males, so the chances of a female making it to Formula One are way less anyway. And there are a few other reasons as well. I think that there are obviously physical differences between a man and a woman. And at the moment, I think that Formula 2 and Formula 3 are really quite... Formula 2 and Formula 3 versus Formula 1, they're both physical, but they're both physical in a very different way. And I think that things need to happen in Formula 2 and Formula 3 to make it possible, or there needs to be some kind of, real study that's looked into the best. Maybe it's just that a woman needs to train 10 times harder or in different ways than what a male would. But in general, I think that, as I say, the next generation, we're seeing so many more females within grassroots racing than what there was when I first started. So if you find, and there's, off the top of my head, there's one specific one that I can think of that is extremely talented, and she's, it's no secret you need backing as well as talent, and I think she's got both of that. So
that'll help. So I think what you said about Formula 2, Formula 3, if I'm not mistaken, ironically, actually a Formula 1 car, because of the power steering, would be actually more equalizing than would, as you said, Formula 3, Formula 2, which don't have that.
But obviously you then have a female would have extra, well, not just a female actually, but drivers have extra stress in Formula 1 through their neck because the G-force is obviously stronger. So they're both extremely physical, just in different ways.
Right, I'm with you.
But I do think power steering is a contributing factor to it.
Yeah. You've also been talking quite openly and actively about LGBTQ plus issues. Well, not issues really, but the rights and the topic. And you and Matt were on a Spaces call recently I listened in on. You were talking about the concept of allyship. I think I've said that right. And perhaps you could just tell us a bit more about that concept and why it's important. And for people that want to be an ally, what's the best route?
The best route, I guess, is to just be open. As far as the best route is, I'm not sure. It's just, I think, so important. And I think Aston Martin Formula 1 team has been a big driving force behind it, of saying, we're open. You can be who you want to be. And you shouldn't be shy about it. And I think that it's not, if people feel comfortable in where they work and the people around them, I think they're themselves more. And I think that we at Aston Martin have been very open and in the way that saying you can be whoever you want to be, no matter who you are. And you should never be shy about or embarrassed about who you are and things like that. So it is very important. And we've got Seb is obviously a big backer as well behind it. And Lewis as well, and the people like that really using, their name and really standing strong and supporting it. I think we need figureheads like that and saying that it's okay. And again, I think it's a generation thing. I think that the younger kids, the younger kids growing up now, I saw some statistic the other day that I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said the main reason for bullying in schools is if you're gay. or something like along those lines. Kids are more likely to, that's the main cause of bullying, and that's crazy. I can't believe that's still the case. But I think that if we can change our idea, our generation, then that gets fed down to the younger kids, and then it becomes more normal, if that makes sense.
It does.
We won't face those issues, hopefully, in a good few years, and hopefully in a few years we won't need to be so
vocal almost.
Yes, yeah. And I don't think we've cured the issue until we don't have to be so vocal about it.
That's a good way of putting it. If I can, I want to touch on your personal life, because in Formula One, we talk often about the biggest competitor being your teammate. In your personal life, I believe you're in a relationship with Abbie Eaton, who's not only a racing driver, but also a competitor in the very same series that you're doing.
Yeah.
That's an unusual, I don't think I could think of anybody else who has that kind of challenge in motorsport.
I know. I don't really know what to say on that front, actually.
It wasn't by design.
No, it was never supposed to be like that. And probably not ideal, but honestly, we separated so well. I think that we've got, we know that we go out on track and we're in it for ourselves. I want the best for her. Equally, I think she wants the best for me. Best case scenario, I'm first and she's second. I'm sure she says it's the other way around. But when we go out on track, I know that she's in it for her. She knows that I'm in it for me. I know I'm in it for me. And if anything were to ever happen, I guess we cross that bridge when we come to it. But we've said the racing comes first when we're racing.
Nicely put. Okay, final question. Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport, but it's not the be all and end all. There's many more things to do. So if you don't end up racing in Formula One, where do you want to go? Are there other ideas? But what are the other ideas you've got? The races you want to do, the type of competition?
I've not completely given up on the Formula One dream yet. So, and I'll keep pushing for things in future, and I always keep pushing for that. But I've always wanted to race British touring cars. It's a championship back in the UK that is, I've grew up watching it, and should Formula One not happen, that's always an option. But again, there's big budgets involved, not as much as Formula One, but there's still budgets involved. And I will set myself goals. I've always got a plan, but I'm also open to veering off of it if other opportunities come. So I never say never to anything. Le Mans would be also a dream of mine. But again, if I'm racing, I'll race anything.
Great answer. It's really lovely to talk to you, Jessica. I really appreciate your time and your openness and interest on these topics. So it's been fantastic. And I hope to meet you in real life one day.
I'm sure we will. Great. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.